All right, everybody, we are here in Florida right now. I have a good friend from Polk County, Florida. He's the king, I guess, or the if you want to call it that, but he's the president of the Polk County Young Democrats, Johnny Dejesus. Johnny, always a pleasure talking to you. Me and you got kind of the same political beliefs since we've talked a couple of times, so I'm happy we're on the same page.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad to hear that as well.
All right, Johnny. So, for the viewers that are all over the country that are listening to this, where is Polk County, Florida? Can you tell us kind of where it is?
Well, Polk County, Florida is located right next to Osceola, well, in between Osceola County, Orange County, and Hillsborough County. So we are kind of that straight, we're in the in between strip when you go up I-4 from Orlando to Tampa.
All right, so right in the thick of things, that I-4 corridor,
Yep.
and that's always big in presidential and governor elections.
Yeah, absolutely. The I-4 corridor is a very multicultural, um, has a very multicultural demographic, and is very, very crucial when it comes to presidential and senate and governor races.
Right, so I know you did, and let's talk about why you're on the show. I know you did start the Polk County Young Democrats. So can you talk about what the mission of the organization is?
Well, the mission of the Polk County Young Democrats is right now our purpose is to increase the voter turnout for the between the ages of 18 and 35. Another thing is to get more young voters engaged into what the Democratic Party is, what are our ideals, and what are we putting out there, and hopefully try and get them to join and start participating, not only just in elections, but also hopefully joining as interns and as volunteers for Democratic candidates and as well as the Democratic Party here in the county.
So I've studied a lot about the county, and I know the county is a fairly red county compared
Yes.
yes, compared to some of the other Democratic strongholds, I guess, in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
So talk about how hard is it, I guess, to get young people involved in kind of a reddish county. I know Andrew Gillum did a little bit better in this county than, and he came over to Polk County quite a few times. Bill Nelson only lost the state by 10,000 votes, arguably. Could have been less, probably. Little some fishy stuff going down in Polk and Broward County with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
regardless, in such a kind of a reddish county in the state, how do you get these young kids involved? And like, is there a lot of colleges in the county? How
Well,
does it work?
currently, right now, we do have a few colleges in the county. One of the most predominantly known colleges in Polk County is Florida Southern, as well as Southeastern. That's another college, and then there's Polk State, which is a community college here in Polk County. And right now, there is a Florida College Democrats chapter in the Florida Southern College University, and so when it comes to trying to get the youth more involved, it is a little bit more difficult because people within our age demographic are more prone to not be as involved in politics, and so trying to engage them is obviously the most harder thing. But what we try to do is that we try to lessen the amount of politics in it and bring out more of the social out of it. So that this way, it's more about getting to know one another and trying to get a better understanding of each other's views and how we can grow as a community, more or less than saying, hey, what's your party? Are you a Democrat? Are you, what?
Right.
It's better to try and get to know your neighbor instead of trying, to interrogate them.
Now, you've started the club, and it's a fairly new club, correct?
Yes, actually, the Polk County Young Democrats has been, well, to my recollection, it has been or tried to be organized for about two times. This will be the third time it's been organized. The first two times it's actually been organized by, you can kind of say those members of the party who were on the brink of not being so young Democrats anymore. So one thing that I definitely pride myself in is that This Polk County Young Democrats, our entire leadership is made of high school and college students. So that right now, we do have an older member and in our leadership, and he guides us through stuff and he helps us because he has been in the game for a while. But most of our leadership, if about 95% of our leadership, is made of a high school and college students. And I say that this leadership is one of the most heartwarming, most productive leadership that I think I've ever, and very bright and, smart group of people that I've ever worked for before.
So it sounds like somewhat of a success, so that's great so far. So Johnny, how many members have you got? I mean, since you started, I guess I should ask how many members that were interested, and then since the growth throughout the 2018 election, 2019, we're almost ready for 2020, and a lot of people have announced the president to run for president. Have you seen a lot of growth, and how many members, from start to now, I guess?
So we started out originally with about 7 members, and then we grew, and we're currently at 18 members.
Wow.
That may not seem as much, but one thing is that we're all still trying to put as much effort into growing this organization. A lot of us, like I mentioned before, are college and high school students, so we have school. Some of the college students, we have jobs, and I personally, I work a full-time job. I go to school, and I do the things that I can to help out, while I'm doing the Young Democrats and helping out and stuff like that for the county. So it does get a little bit challenging. So we definitely try our best. One thing that we're going to be working on this year is increasing our membership by trying to do every and any type of outreach as much as possible to those youth within this community. There's about 36,000 registered young adults between the ages of 18 and 40, and this year we plan on talking to at least most of them.
So you said there was kind of three colleges in the area with the Polk State College, Florida Southern, and Southeastern. Which college has kind of the most members to the Polk County Young Democrats? Have you?
So currently, so currently, right now we're actually working on growing our relationships with the Florida Southern Young Democrat College Democrats. Currently, right now, that's the only College Democrats chapter in Polk County, and so we're actually working with them, and hopefully, pretty soon we're going to be working hand in hand with one another on as far as fundraising, outreach, and our communications. Well, I am a strong believer in numbers their strength, and when I spoke to the president, who is Gianni, we came to an agreement that we could definitely help both of our organizations if we work together, and it's all for the same purpose, and that's just to get as much youth in this county to register and get them out to vote and start participating on and start participating in the democracy of this country.
So, Johnny, let's talk about some stuff. That's all and great with the Polk County Young Democrats, but I want to talk a little bit about you and stuff that I've heard about you. So, you've worked on that Raymond Pena campaign in 2018. Now, it was not, I guess, the way you guys thought of it, but you were the campaign manager. How did that feel to kind of be a young guy jumping into politics, helping a guy run for Congress, even though it wasn't successful? Must have been a pretty good feat. And how was that?
Well, working for Ray, one thing that I would like to say is that, yeah, obviously we hoped for to win the election, but the voters decided on who they wanted to be the nominee, and well, we got what we got. But working for Ray Pena was one of the most greatest experience. I owe him the world, and to be honest, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the opportunity to have all these things that I'm doing right now for the Democratic Party. I would have never got in contact with the former chairman of the party, who was Sean Kinsey at the time, to start the Polk County Young Democrats. I would have never had those opportunities if it wasn't for him, and for him to give me the chance to work on his campaign. When I started on his campaign, I was halfway through my second year of college, so I was fairly new to the political, or the political arena. I did my research, I participated, I volunteered in a few campaigns, but that was actually my first my first campaign that I actually managed. And though it wasn't what I definitely hoped, I definitely think that we all got the best experience out of it, and we enjoyed it all the way through.
So quickly, could you just talk about the platform that you guys discussed in that campaign,
So,
and all?
Ray,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, so basically, what I was going to say was Ray Pena is actually, and this is obviously my opinion. Everyone in the election had their own opinion, but
Sure.
Ray Pena in this race was one of the most progressive candidates, by far out of the three. He was one of the candidates that was supporting Medicare for all. He was supporting, you know, he was supporting voter rights. He was supporting a $15 minimum wage. He was supporting, social equality, affordable college. He was by far one of the most progressive. And what definitely shocks a lot of people is he was one of the most progressive candidates in his race, but he was also the oldest candidate in his race. So, and that's kind of shocking. And I definitely feel that, I'm not going to say that a little ageism came into play, but, I definitely believe that people judge the cover before they actually read the book.
Well, in studying that race before we went on the year, I thought it was pretty incredible that the favorite lost in that race was Andrew Leonard. Lost to a woman that came in at the end, somewhat towards the end, is Kristen Carlson, and she ended up losing the race to the Republican Spawn, I think his name was. So I was pretty incredible, rather interested that he lost
Yeah.
the race as being the favorite.
Yeah. Um, Andrew Learn was a great candidate. I didn't get an opportunity to actually have any one-on-one conversations with him throughout the campaign. Obviously he had the funding. He was very charming. He had the age on his side. He had a predominantly progressive platform. Um, I feel that as a candidate he did very well. Though he wasn't, my choice for the
Sure.
election, obviously. But I definitely feel that Andrew Learn should definitely run for Congress again. I feel that he would be a great congressman, the same way that I believe that Ray Pena would have been a great congressman as well. So I definitely think that he should run for office,
Yeah.
sometime in the future.
Yeah, disappointing for both of those guys, and I do hope whether it's Congress or some other state position, they both get back involved. But let's talk a little bit about 2020 now. Kind of to go back to the college Democrats. What are you guys doing for 2020? Do you have any ideas about that yet? You guys, I guess, as far as a group of 18, is there people that are supporting more one candidate to another candidate? What is kind of the platform for you guys, I guess? And is there any candidate chosen that you guys prefer over another?
Oh, well, right now we haven't gotten to that far. One thing that we're going to be focusing on this year, as far as the Polk County Young Democrats goes, is re-imaging ourselves, creating an organization that is going to be an equal to the Democratic Party here in Polk County. We believe that the youth in this county have as much as a say as the members of the community who've lived here for years or came from a different state to retire here. Here in Polk County, we have a lot of retirees. And, I believe that the youth that was raised and live in this county have as much to say as they do. So we're trying to grow an organization that's going to work for them and speak for their beliefs and their ideals. So what we're going to be working on is creating a platform that's going to support the issues that most young people agree on. Another thing that we're going to be working on is making sure that we do the proper outreach to communities so that we can. Excuse me for 1 second.
Sure.
We make sure that we're going to do the proper outreach to communities, so that this way we can reach all those youth between the ages of 18 and 30. Try and get them out trying to get them out to vote, try to register them to vote, and all those things. Those are what we're going to be working on and doing. Hopefully, we're going to be having a few social events throughout the year so that we can start getting to know one another and start getting to know, and people start getting to know what the Polk County Young Democrats are about and what are we going to be doing moving forward.
So let's talk two more quick questions before we end the interview. What kind of candidate do you guys believe? Right. So, what type of candidate do you guys think would energize young people in Polk County? But in general, do you have a candidate so far? Most of the Democratic candidates have pretty much announced. I mean, obviously there could be Joe Biden, a few others, but I guess the big Kahuna is pretty much announced so far. So, what do you guys think about the energy behind a candidate for young people?
Well, one thing that I do believe, as far as candidates go, we haven't, the Polk County Democrats haven't had that discussion of what candidate we're actually, we're still trying to work on building a set platform for our organization so that we can match to those candidates who that we agree the most with. But I definitely believe that the candidate that we should, that at least we want to have is those who actually are worried about the future, worried about the future generations and what it's going to happen to us. A lot of people don't take that into consideration of, what is this going to do to the next generation. So a candidate that we're hopefully looking for is someone who is going to start setting precedent so that the future generations are not going to have to go through the same issues that we are currently having to face today, which is the incredible housing inequality, income inequality, and social injustice that's currently going on in this country. And hopefully, that candidate who can do that will be able to set a better future for my younger brothers and sisters and for all the future generations to come.
Right. Well, great answer with that. I believe the only candidate so far to organize young people consistently throughout 2016 and so far throughout 2020 is Senator Bernie Sanders, but that's my opinion. So, so I'll leave you with the last question. What I kind of just went into. Do you have a pick so far for 2020? Let's put you on the spot a little bit.
Well, personally, I am a Berner. I'm definitely a Bernie Sanders fan, but I am also a realist. Now, as much as I love Senator Sanders, I completely adore him. I adore his platform. I love what he believes in, and I love what he stands for. I am a realist in a situation where I believe you just can't go from a far right conservative to a very far left progressive. And heck, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be voting for Bernie Sanders personally. There hasn't been a candidate who's going to change my mind, and I'm hoping that he definitely wins this. But I would definitely say that those moderates and centrists who aren't so much agreeable with Bernie Sanders' platform are gonna get the best of us this time around, and hopefully that does not happen.
See, I disagree, and I'll just state my opinion on that quick. I disagree because in less than a week, Bernie Sanders has raised over $10 million.
Yeah,
I think that that's pretty big time. I mean, Kamala Harris, 1.5 million in a week. Bernie, 10 million in 1 week. I think what you're going to see by the Democratic Party is Bernie Sanders does get the nomination, and they try to force somebody as a vice presidential candidate, such as Kamala Harris, or if not Kamala Harris, somebody like Cory Booker as vice president.
I see that.
Yeah, to do the identity politics. I'll leave you with this lastly. I think Bernie Sanders would be my pick for president. Vice President Nina Turner and Secretary of State Tulsi Gabbard. I think
Yep,
that's the best lineup to get us out of the war.
I agree.
And Nina Turner can energize the African American base, and she knows they definitely she knows where they're coming from as far as where that stands. And Bernie will energize the young people along with Nina. So we'll leave it there. We could go on and talk about that for hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think, like I said, we're both on the same page with that. Johnny, you're doing a hell of a job. I do
Thank you.
appreciate your time, and I want you to keep up the good work in Polk County
Thank you so much.
and kick some butt because Florida, I was a little disappointed with the Andrew Gillum loss and the Bill Nelson loss. But Florida's going to get their act together. If Bernie Sanders or whoever the Democratic nominee wins Florida, the election is over because that's Trump's home base. So we'll see what happens. But hey, always a pleasure. All right, and keep up
All right.
the work.
Thank you. We'll talk later.
All right.